Okay, I'm starting super informally because I just want to get everything. How was your ride over here?
It's good.
You drove?
Yeah, I drove. It took me a while to just dig the car out.
from the snow, right?
Yeah, because I hadn't taken it out since it started snowing. And then the day after it snowed, my friend tried to take it out because she wanted to go to the doctor's, but then there was just no way. Because they even said that there was a bus that got stuck on the corner.
I can imagine from where you
So
are.
I was like, well, there's no way we're going anywhere right now. So we basically put it back, and I haven't looked at it since. And then I guess I was expecting it to look have a lot less snow than it actually did. So it was like ice on one half of my car, and the other half was fine.
Did Dawn help you shovel out, or?
No, Dawn was at work.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was all just me.
Yeah, no, we just had we had Winter Storm Grayson like 3 days ago, which I never even knew they named storm, like winter storms, you know?
Yeah, not the winter
They're just
storms.
like, this one has a name,
idea.
it has a super like yuppie name, it's Grayson, like, you know what I mean? So, well, I am really excited for my second interview of the day. You can tell because I have the same shirt on. Another dear friend, Lisette.
Hi.
So, you want to like share your like social media or anything? I'll ask in the beginning and the end.
Okay.
If you want to, yeah.
That's fine. My Instagram is Vampiressesme, ESME. And you're going to see a lot of pictures of my nails because I get my nails done like all the time. And that's mostly my pictures. Unless I actually feel like I'm looking pretty that day, then you'll see a couple of selfies of me.
Yeah, that's very sparkly. And as you know, I'm Vanita VJ on Twitter and This Evil Bunny on Instagram. So here we are now, episode 1, 2, 3, 4 of INTJ Versus, and this is an exciting day. This is a pioneer first because we have a censor in the house. Yes. We have a censor. You're an ESFJ.
ENF.
No,
ENFP.
we just talked about this.
ENFP.
You told me you got a professional, you went to a professional, you got an actual professional test. Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Can someone add to this? Can someone tell me, did she not say that?
This morning, no, ENFP was that was what she was telling us.
I swore you told me that. You're like, hey guys, I don't have the chat. But I remember you told me you went to like, you actually got an actual assessment and they were like, oh, I'm not an ENFP. I swear. So you didn't?
No, the only assessment that I did was, what was it? For the ADHD, that was it.
So you're an ENFP?
Yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, that's fine, I can do it. I haven't had an ENFP on here. I was just really, you know who was in that chat? You were in that chat. You remember when she changed it?
I don't remember.
Yes, because it was her and it was Anna. And Anna was like, oh, I'm an ESFJ. Then you were like, oh yeah, me too. I got changed.
No, because I screenshotted both times when I had gotten the result, and they both said the same thing. Because I went back like a year and a half when I screenshotted it, and it said the campaigner, and it said ENFPA. And it said the same thing when I took it yesterday too.
ENFPA. Well, that changes everything. You've seen it here, folks. It's a change. So this is not a pioneering day. We've got another intuitive here. Okay? And we are doing INTJ versus ENFP. Stay here. Okay. All right. So yeah. So then tell me like when you first took the test and what that was like for you.
When I first took the test, I kind of was like, I thought it was gonna take like more than 15 minutes, and I thought it was gonna be kind of like hard, and I wasn't gonna understand the questions. But it wasn't that bad. I think it was like less than 10 minutes that I was done with it. And there were some parts where I was like reading it and I was like, wait a minute, it's agree if it's like you're not. And so it took me a minute to kind of like figure out how to flip it so it fit me better. But besides that, like, I think it was good. I didn't get to really read too much about it to see if it was me or not. But I do feel like
Move this over there.
I am like that intuitive type of person. If I'm understanding it right, I kind of feel like how I can pick up on if a person has a good character of judgment or not.
So was the first time you heard about it was through me, or had you heard about it like years ago, here and there?
I don't. I think I might have heard of the myers-briggs. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? I think the last time I heard about it was probably when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
I think we did something like that as far as like to see what your career would fall under.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything about
You don't remember like if you changed? Do you know at least like maybe one letter? Like, did you test as an extrovert then, or did you test as a feeler, or?
I definitely know I was an extrovert.
This is true.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever really changed.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
I've pretty much.
Yeah, like I've always been outgoing, and I love being around people, and I just love being with people. So I could see why I would be the extrovert. My dad is the same way, but I think my dad, since he got older and stuff, is now like more an introvert.
Your
If
dad?
that's possible, yeah.
Your dad. So you're saying he's gotten more introverted over time. You know something? It really does fit, because like, at least in my mind, you told me that it got changed, that you were an ESFJ, but you fit in ENFP more for me, because I associate, like, if I had to give like an archetype for like an ENFP, is like they're kind of like unicorns in the sense of like being like very sparkly and very like sparkly, intuitive, spiritual, and like has a very strong like internal compass for what they feel like they want to do, and like nothing stops them from what they actually want to do. Like nothing. I can be like, well, this does it. It's like, I'm doing it. This is what I feel like is right, and you're usually right. And I just want to like note, you've got your shirt says kind heart, fierce mind, brave spirit. This is a very ENFP shirt. I just want to add that. You got green hair, you got that. It's like it's pretty. Your shirt matches your hair. I love it. Okay, so like I'm gonna go through the cognitive functions of an ENFP and compare it to an INTJ. Now, I know that ENFPs have introverted feeling and extroverted thinking, as well as INTJ. So you guys lead with extroverted intuition, just like an INFP. No. Just like an ENTP, yeah. And then your auxiliary function is introverted feeling, which is for an INTJ, that's our tertiary. And then your tertiary is extroverted thinking. And then your inferior is introverted sensing. Yes, because I had mentally typed this for you, and I told you some stuff before. I was like, this is all making sense. Okay, so we have an overlap of 2 cognitive functions, but we have only 1 overlap of preferences, and then that's our preference for intuition over sensing. So let's get started. Let's get into it. So extroverted intuition. You know what's funny? Like I met you. Maybe like 6 years ago. Yeah, so I feel like developmentally, I haven't seen you like in a teenager, like early 20s mode. When you were like in like your early 20s or whatever, what was like your general direction? Or like what you thought your direction of your life would be? Like, was it like something stable or something that you felt like you always wanted to like get out and explore and do a lot of stuff?
So that's a loaded question.
Yeah, no, it is. This is
I was like in my early 20s, I was a mom. So basically, the only thing I was like focused on was just raising him, and he was also a special needs child. So it was more like focused on taking care of him, making sure that he's well, and making sure he got his meds and stuff, and also trying to make him or help him be as happy of a child as he could possibly be. And again, like that, like I never take no for an answer. So like whenever they denied him something, I like fought tooth and nail to make sure that he got what he deserved. And then I believe I was also part-time going to college trying to work on my theater degree.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to look up the definition of extroverted intuition. Hold on a second. Extroverted intuition. Okay, so extroverted intuition is defined as always seeing possibilities. They always want to know what could be. They are adept at understanding the external environment, but they always want to take it just one step further. Does that connect to you on any level?
Yeah, I feel it definitely does. Like, basically right now, I'm about to graduate with my master's degree in teaching in May. And I'm also in I'm in a production company with one of my close friends. So she wants to start a filming. So we have a couple of films that we're working on right now.
Oh, nice.
And I'm her AD, so basically do everything.
Yeah, definitely see that.
And then on top of that, like, so I kind of have like this whole idea that even though I may be a teacher, say in next September, I still want to be like on stage or doing filming or just sticking with my theater career, or maybe, I don't know, maybe start a blog or something with me singing or something in it.
One thing I love about people that lead or have in their auxiliary extrovert intuition is like always this like feeling of like hope and possibility. And I feel like it's very infectious, especially for someone like me that can be terribly pessimistic. Like terribly pessimistic. And I feel like there's nothing that people with extroverted intuition feels like is a boundary or that can inhibit them from achieving or from doing whatever it is they want to do. And I always really like that. So then a follow-up question is that, like, when you were a kid, did you have like a flair for the dramatic, or what were you like as a kid, kind of? Were you getting into everything?
Yeah, I was a problem.
Yeah.
I think growing up, I swore I was a princess.
Like literally.
And I swore I was like on TV and everything that happened to me, because it was just so out there. It was just like, it's got to be some kind of TV show that just never ends. Awesome. And I even like thought about it, like I used to think about like when I was sleeping or something, it's like somebody turned off the TV so nothing was going on. And then I'm like, so once the TV turns back on, it's like, oh, okay, action, let's go, let's get in there, now that's what our next adventure is. And it was like really weird. It's been a long time. And it was kind of like also kind of like with a storybook. When you close the storybook, then the story ends. That's how I used to look at things. So it was just really weird thinking that way. And I also, I also wanted to be a singer and always wanted to be on TV and stuff like that. So that's something like I never really lost.
So you mean your life was like an allegory, like you had a framework for your life? Like, do you hear that? Like, that's not normal. Like, that's not like, I don't think people think about their life like having a framework for it. Like,
I'm a unicorn. Remember?
Yeah, I literally look at ENFPs as like, yeah, they're like the sparkly.
Like, yeah, there's nothing normal about me.
yeah, no, that's freaking excellent. That's what I'm saying, and I feel that way around people with extrovert intuition, and that also because of that, because like I said, as opposed to INTJs having introverted intuition, it's more about connecting the dots outside, externally, like in the external world, and the things you can feel, touch, see. You know what I mean? I definitely can see that, and it lends itself to the arts, it lends itself to sciences, and it lends itself to many different places. But I also feel like the con of that is a little bouncing around, being a little non-committal. Where it's like, you can get really excited about something, but perhaps your attention can be easily diverted. Do you feel like that happens?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have issues really focusing on like one thing. And I also tend to have a really big problem of not really finishing stuff that I start. I can't even tell you how many crochet projects I have at home that I started and just never finished.
And yeah, you're excellent at it. Yeah, I've seen your crochet work. Yeah, and then it's like half finished or whatnot. Yeah, that's like the kind of like one thing being really excited and everything for life. It's like that's the positive, but then it also kind of like the yin yang of it is, oh, okay, now I have a million unfinished projects. And so like that's an ongoing thing that you work to and that you counterbalance with the introvert sensing, which I'll get to.
And it's like a huge accomplishment when I actually finish one of the projects.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, yes, I'm actually finished. And I'm like, look, I have so many at home. This is for you because I usually give it as gifts. And I'm like, this is for you, and it's actually finished. And it's like, I'm just so proud, and it's like a feeling that I can't really replace when I have something that's finished and I know somebody's walking around with one of my stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to reiterate, I say it all the time, but everyone has all the cognitive functions, right? So we all have it. It's just about where it gets placed in our stack. So when it comes to our dominant, that's definitely 70 to 80% of our personality. Like we're just walking around and like, and like I said before, with your dominant, it's like you have mastered it, and especially at this point in your life, you've mastered it where like it becomes aspirational for other people. People like, if people were to say, okay, this was your best trait, it's something revolving around that. Like you make people feel really hopeful and like happy. You know what I mean? So definitely for me, someone that I don't have that in my first four of my stack, I definitely always see it as aspirational. A little overwhelming, but definitely aspirational. And that leads us to your auxiliary function, which is introverted feeling, which we both share. And introverted feeling, I like to look at it as kind of like, you could say compass, but I would say because it's relating to feelings and emotions, I'm gonna call it an internal sensor that can kind of pick up on things around you. So introverted feeling, I'll go with the pros and cons. The cons I see, and it's hard too, because even in doing this, I'm so not gonna lie, I have prejudgments. Like, you know, so in my head, it's like, because we share this, I was so ready just to like say nothing but positive things about it. But it's like, I have the self-awareness that I can check that. But I'll tell you the cons a little bit of it is that it can be seen as a little selfish only because your mode in dealing with the world, and going back to my car model, your secondary auxiliary function is in the passenger seat. So like it's maybe if like your dad's in charge, it's like the mom, or if the mom's in charge, it's like the dad, where it has an immense amount of input and it kind of drives, kind of like when they say that women are the neck and men are the head. So your auxiliary is kind of like the neck. It's kind of the thing pulling everything together, because when you get an idea that comes through your extrovert intuition, you execute it with your introverted feeling. So now it's like, how am I gonna make this happen in the real world that makes me feel comfortable? And you're always thinking from that mindset of like what I can do. And that's the positive too. And for people like INFPs and ISFPs, who I feel are super aspirational, they have such an understanding of self. And so there's an understanding of self and a self-awareness that's like, it's uncanny. To the point where you may look at other people and not understand how they don't get things about themselves because they're not looking inward, but you are. Does that like ring anything to you, or do you think?
I get it. I could actually see where that does come from, and I can actually see where you say like they might find that a little bit selfish in a way. Because I actually catch myself doing that kind of stuff sometimes, and I also find myself not really being able to put myself in another person's shoes.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Sometimes, but not all the time. So, yeah.
But the positive of it, if I go to the positive, is that you really see the value in individuality. So like when people do things that are self-expressive, you can totally have an understanding that they're living their funk, and you want other people to live their funk. Like you actually get what that means, because you're like, I'm living my funk. Yeah. So other people should do that too. So yeah, it's like if I had to think of the person kind of going to their own tune, I would definitely say that's an ENFP because of the introverted feeling. Because it's like, as opposed to being more expansive with extroverted feeling, it's like your goal is not so much the harmony of others as opposed to the harmony of self.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think like, and in terms of developing that, it's something you probably developed around teenage years, like creating your own sort of value system?
I guess I could see it that way, just because I went through a lot as a teenager. I also met in the future he ended up being my husband, but I met my husband like during my teenage years, and I kind of feel like that's kind of like where I got my ideas of why I would do certain things. But I think I also realized, like, to explain like the neck and the head part that you're talking about. One thing that I actually noticed about myself is that I tend to not really put me out there. Like, if the other person has like other interests or whatever, I'll try to take that interest and put that into consideration and things, and make it like an interest of mine too, just so we had something, I guess, to like talk about and stuff. And then I also kind of started realizing that I lose myself sometimes when I get that done too much.
Yeah, that's like, you know, it's funny too, because it's like, if you hadn't heard the term before, like, that's actually a perfect description. It's very easy for people with introverted feeling to lose themselves amongst others, like just trying to support what other people are doing.
Definitely.
Like, especially if it's something people really care about, like not on a generic level. Like, if someone else has a passion, you can like internalize it if it's even in that moment, which makes people that have introverted feeling really good actors. You know, for better or for worse, because they can be like, okay, this person went through this, this, and this. Oh yeah, I can feel that. I can do that. Okay, now I'm gonna inhabit this. And maybe even lose yourself in it. Like, sometimes you hear about actors and it's like they went off on the role, and it's like that's something that someone with introverted feeling could do, because I consider it an internally passionate. It's very passionate. I'm gonna go so far as to say that most porn stars have introverted feeling, because their valuation of just like their feelings and like what's going on in their body goes way deeper than the average person. You know, so like I feel like, to be honest, just like on the side, I do feel like most of them are like ESFPs or ISFPs. But either way, it's more so just like a deeply like, I'm feeling things much more than the average person, and taking advantage of that. So yeah, that's something we share. And because she has it as her auxiliary and mine's is tertiary, she has a better command of it. And I find myself, being that I'm a thinker female, a lot of times I have to ask myself, okay, this makes sense, but does this feel true to me? And that's something that feelers have that thinkers don't. You know, and feelers definitely have like, oh, this feels true to me, so I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And it's frightening to me. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's another aspirational thing, because I can do it, but it takes so much work and so much like beating down my own thoughts about things like, oh, this is stupid. Oh, people are going to think I'm dumb, you know, and then I'll do it. But for you, you're like, well, I'm going to do it. Obviously, this is me. This is who I am.
I mean, it kind of goes along with the fact that, I guess, I'm kind of affectionate, kind of not. I guess it depends on the person, or like, I guess the moment. But my thing is like, I'm not the type of person, like if I see somebody crying or, you know, whatever, like as much as my head is saying, go to them and hold them and hug them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't do it because it doesn't feel right to me. It feels like I'm being fake to myself. So
I'm sorry, I'm just like having like realization moments now too. That is so true. Like, I've seen that in you, but also but it's not that I'm not a caring person. I'm very emotional and I'm very compassionate, and like, I mean, I love all my close friends because she's one of my very close friends and everything. But it's just like not in me, and I feel like, do they want somebody who I feel is being true to myself, or do they want somebody who's gonna like be fake? Because if I feel fake to myself, it's not gonna feel real if I'm gonna give you a hug that I feel is just something that society says we should do. Yeah, that's a perfect descriptor, but you can also understand how that could come across to the average person as being kind of selfish.
Yeah, I know.
But really, the underlying thing under that is no. But this is like, you know what I mean? Like, this is me. You know what I mean? And just going back to people that lead with that lead with introverted feeling, they can come off very expressionless and make people feel as if there's nothing going on beneath the surface, but there's a lot going beneath the surface. It's just internalized. It's internalized. It's not externalized. It's not for the world to see. It's for me to feel. So I definitely, relate to that. It was just like really interesting. And because, like I said, the psyche yearns to be whole, it creates natural balances. So that's why everyone in their stack have 2 extroverted cognitive functions and 2 introverted cognitive functions. So some in which these are like your gifts to share the world, and then some of these are gifts to share just with yourself or loved ones, right? So that includes the feeling. And then leading into the third, your tertiary, so like your teenager, is extroverted thinking. Now I have extroverted thinking. That's my auxiliary. And extroverted thinking, yeah, I love extroverted thinking. Yeah, like also because, I have it, but mostly it's a way of organizing the external world. So it's about applying your logic externally, right? So here's the thing, when you apply things externally, it has no choice but to be shallow because things get lost in translation. So in your head, you can have a lot going on, but I can't do everything for everyone to see. So things just naturally get lost. So extroverted thinking for you would be a reprieve from the intensity you're having emotionally. It's the way you naturally want to organize and sort your environment. Do you feel like you've experienced that, or
is it kind of like, I guess when I'm going through so much, or I feel like I want to just clean the house and just organize everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a home organizer. Yeah. It's literally that.
But it's so weird because it's I never really get to actually finish the organization. Just because of the fact that I start from the very little things. So I'll go to one bag that has all this old mail and everything that should be shredded. And so I'll start with say the closet that nobody opens and nobody looks at. And I'll go through that closet and I'll organize that and everything. And then I'll work my way out. So basically to me, I did a lot.
Right.
But to everybody else, they're like, you didn't do anything.
Yes, objectively. Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that's why having your tertiary is always going to be underdeveloped, but it's always going to be there, and it's always to balance whatever's going on mentally. So it's you'll try to do it and you will make some headway. You're not going to be wonderful at it, but you will always be trying to organize your external environment, and that'll help you see more clearly. And I feel over the years you probably have developed it and gotten better than 20 years ago or something.
Yeah.
You've gotten better at being organized. It's not wonderful, but it's good for me. You know what I mean? So, and so we share the same thing. That's it's our auxiliary. So it's what we do. And so I do home organizing. So it's kind of there for me. It's not my dominant either. So it's not necessarily the number one thing I go to, but I don't feel comfortable unless things are in order around me. On a shallow level. If there's an internal order, kind of don't care about that. I just want things to look like they're in place. I just want things to look like everything's kind of together on which makes me a little bit of a system planner. So likewise, do you find you might have an inclination to, even if it comes to people, organizing parties or organizing, just basically anything related to people or other things that's going on around you, that you might want to organize it to feel like there's some control?
I'm not sure, because even though I do throw parties and stuff like that, I tend to, I get all excited about setting it up and maybe doing some of the cooking and the decorating and stuff like that. But once the party starts, I don't
You let it go.
Yeah, I don't even want to deal with it anymore. I'm just like, okay, let's go, let's have a party. And I'm like, yeah, I'll worry about the cleaning later or something.
It's just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the starting of it, and then I just want to have a good time with everybody else.
It's funny because they say that even though your tertiary is underdeveloped, it's just enough to not be overbearing. So they actually say that people's tertiary function is like one of their better features because it's not overbearing. It's not like your dominant or your auxiliary that's always in people's faces. It's like just enough to kind of get in there, do a job, and get out. So that's interesting to me because she throws great parties, you know. Yeah, and she's not super anal about anything. No, but it's just enough. But there's a lot of attention and care to like detail and what's that. We've seen that, yeah. Great Halloween parties.
I also know, like when I'm going through classes and stuff like that, my apartment is a horrible mess because I just have like everything all over the place. And then my car will start getting to that point, and I'm like, okay, one of these things has to be clean.
Yeah, one of them.
And I was like, I'm not cleaning the house, so then I'll go through my car, and I'll just like start throwing out whatever garbage is like sitting around there. I was like, okay, fine. As long as what I travel in and I spend most of my time is clean, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's like being practical. Like for example, if you were a clear-cut ISTJ. I remember I used to babysit for an ISTJ mom, and that lady used to write. Okay, no, I'm not telling too much. No, no one knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, she used to just write out detailed steps to taking care of her son and whatnot, and that's taking the orderliness to the highest level. But for her, that's not even a big deal. It's just well, how else will they know what to do?
Well, I've actually done that, and I feel
really?
I feel like that's probably where the my SM or my AD, where my stage managing or assistant director, whatever would come in, because when it comes to that, the little things, I'm extremely organized. And I feel like when I used to leave my son with his godmother and stuff like that, I would leave her actual detail messages on what meds he needs to take, what time, how many doses and everything. So everything was basically all written down, and it was to the point that if it was not neat, I'd crumble up the paper and write it all over again.
Oh my God, yeah, that opens up something I wasn't even going to talk about. Yeah, two things. Another thing with extroverted thinking is that people with it, and the higher up it is, are kind of natural leaders because they're good at organizing people, so they will take leadership roles. Just in the sorority, you're taking leadership roles and whatnot. But like I said, there's a light and dark to everything. That dark is being a little, too anal or a little OCD, or also kind of it adds a little bit of having a little bit of anxiety because you will freak out if things don't go according to plan.
Oh my God, so much.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so I experience it. And for me, sometimes it gets so bad where it's okay, I can't even do it because the plan's been ruined. I will totally do that. I was and it's and the difference between a J and P, I think perceivers are better at that flexibility and be okay, but we can adapt to the situation. You know what I mean? This didn't go well, but there's still all this other stuff that did go well. You know what I mean? So I can do that sometimes, but not all the time. Sometimes I'm just nope, that's it. Pack it all up,
No, and I feel when it gets to that point with me, I'll be okay, you know what? I just want to quit. I just want to stop everything. And then I'll be no, wait a minute. We're not going to quit. We're going to work this out. We're going to flip it around and somehow make a positive out of it. And we're going to stick it out because I don't like to quit or stop what it is that I commit myself to do. So. Yeah,
definitely. And I think in comparison too, it's and I look at, let's put it this way, anything that doesn't come naturally to me, I always look at it as being aspirational in some point. So I think that adaptability historically or even through evolution has, I don't know the stats on it, but I bet if I looked at the stats, and these would just be vague as hell anyway, 'cause how is anyone measuring this? But I feel perceivers probably did better through evolution because they were able to constantly adapt to the situation, like even like when humans were like pre-human times, because they were able to see things other people didn't see, like when plans went wrong, because when do plans not go wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thinking out of the box.
Yeah, they can think, especially an extroverted intuition will think out the box, and then when things go left, they'll adapt to the situation. Whereas for me, it's like, well, no, I'm going to prevent things from going left, which sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't work, you know? and that's why we all kind of like need each other, you know, in the bigger realm, because we need someone to be like, hey, it's okay. It's so fun. It's like, no, it's not okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so then that would make your shadow, oh, this is going down. Not yet though. I have another battery. What is that behind her? Am I charging something behind you?
No. You mean that one?
Oh, yeah, that one. Okay, great. Your shadow is IST. Oh, your shadow is an ISTJ? Well, then that doesn't make sense. So, like, your shadow, like, in the... No, she's not an ISTJ. Right. Your shadow... Yeah, okay. So, in moments where you're really stressed out, depressed, do you find that you will become that sort of like anal person or anal retentive, or like very hyper focused on details instead of the big picture?
Actually, I think I feel like I become more of an introvert.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, and I see that.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of be like kind of anal and because I feel like when I get to that point, just being around a mess doesn't help. Like it just adds on to it.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I feel like then that's when I really start wanting to be like, just start wanting to organize, or just trying to get something in my mind settled because I can't handle things. But I feel like what I normally have to do before I get to that point is I've got to find a way to be my own, like on my own, be alone and really think about things. And then once I've come to terms with all of that, then I will start like thinking about organizing or fixing something, just so I can, I guess.
Yeah, that perfectly, perfectly fits. And not only that, it also gave me a revelation, because my default is being away from all humanity, right? So that's my default. But then to get out of that, I have to I need to embrace others. Oh my God, that is so crazy. Like, you need to settle and like fix you. It's like I spend all my time with me. You know what I mean? It's like I need to go out into the world and be doing things and just experiencing life.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the complete and total opposite. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to deal with anybody right now. I just gotta get out of here.
That's crazy.
And I just be on my own. Like, I'm just alone. Even if it means I'm gonna be sitting there, whatever, alone in my car, whatever, just crying my eyes out. I just need to be me, like deal with just me.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short commercial break. I'm sorry. Okay, we took a little break, so just need to get back in the mode of it. I think that we left off just like wrapping up extroverted thinking. So now we're to the last cognitive function, which is introverted sensing, right? So just like comparatively, because INTJs have extroverted sensing, introverted sensing, especially as an inferior, it's gonna be kind of like the difference between a microscope and a telescope, right? So I like to look at introverted sensing more like a microscope. Yeah, so something that I always see, and I see this with ENTPs who have introverted sensing as their inferior, I know it sounds crazy cliche because like this is what you're doing, is they really do, after the age of 30, 35, try to become teachers. Interestingly enough. And I continually see that. And I even have an ENTP friend. He's like, yeah, I'm going to become a teacher someday. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think that goes into a few things. I think it's one of a reverence for certain types of like traditional institutions, like teaching in school and like teaching children and stuff. And also kind of like history too. So if you could name like your favorite subject, like what's your favorite subject?
Math.
Math. Okay. So were you like wait, question. Were you super into math as a kid, or did you over time get better at it?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because I also remember that I liked reading a lot. Well, like reading books and stuff like that. So I remember that for the most part when I was like younger. And then the math, I think I started liking around junior high schoolish.
Right, it took a little bit of time. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then it totally makes sense that maybe in the back of your mind you were like, I would like to teach at the very least. Maybe you didn't have a full grasp of how that was going to come to fruition, but you were like, eventually I want to teach.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, ever since I was a little girl, I used to play school all the time.
Nice, yeah.
So I had like all my stuffed animals like laid out on the bed and everything, and I love like stationery and stuff like that. So I have notebooks and pens and everything. So I used to have like the little roster and everybody's names on it.
Oh, that's so
I
cute.
really went in when I was playing school, and I know I've been doing that since I was a little kid. And I used to have my cousins and my brother would come over and play school.
Oh, so I remember playing school too as a kid. I never wanted to be the teacher. I was always like a student. Like I was always a student, and I had like friends that were like the teacher or whatever. Yeah, and I think that dynamic is like, yeah, it's kind of like to be expected, because in a way, I think of teachers as idea people too. I think of them that, well, personally, I think of teachers as people that get as much from their students as their students get from them. And another thing about the combination of extrovert intuition and introverted feeling, which I also see with INFPs, is that they are eternally youthful. And I've always known this about you. Like, even before I ever thought about typing you, I'm just like, you're eternally youthful. And there's a connection that you guys have with younger people.
Yeah, that's
where like
really
you're
true.
right here.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely has, because you got your bachelor's after and like all that stuff. So it's like what is it that you see with people that are younger than you that doesn't, because most people that are older, like even me, I generally will get annoyed by 18 to 21 year olds. Full disclosure. But for you, I feel like you'll be mad cool with them.
Yeah. I don't know. It just always came natural to me. So I have no idea why. But I guess maybe because I feel like we have like this kind of understanding. Like I give them all like the same kind of respect as if they were adults. And usually when they're young, especially when they're preteens and stuff, they want to be treated as an adult. So I always look at it, you know, like I'm just going to talk to you or treat you like any other person I would talk to and stuff. And I think that's probably what they've noticed about me. Like I'm going to treat them the way I want them to treat me. So I would never like talk down to them, because who wants to get talked down to? But I mean, I never really analyzed it to see why it is that I get along with kids so well, but that's just the way it is. I mean, even with special needs children, I didn't even think that I made that kind of impact or memory to them. That I remember when my son was when my son was 6, one of the boys had just aged out of his class, and he went to like a junior high school and stuff. And I was the vice president of the Parents Association, so I had to go and take care of that school. And when I went to go visit the classroom and stuff, one of the kids, he comes over, he goes, Alex's mom. I was like, I didn't even know he knew who I was. Like, I only knew the kid for like less than a year, because he was in the same class with Alex like the year before. So it was just like, I think that's when I kind of like started realizing that even though I don't even try hard, I still kind of end up putting my like, I guess my memory just stays with people. Yeah,
and then you become well liked by kids, because I think that is a kind of respect for people at their level. And I think that's something I see with introverted feelers as well. Like, they will respect people at their level, whether they're a kid, whether they're important, whether they're the janitor, it just kind of doesn't matter. Like, they will meet people at their level. And I do, and another thing is I do see people with introverted feeling as well, that they just generally have a good connection with kids. I feel like I have a decent connection. It's not as much as maybe it could be, but I think recognizing that literally they're just like little people. Yeah, like if you put that into your head, I think that like approaches it much better. How are you with animals?
I'm good with animals. I love animals. I mean, I don't like cats, but they don't seem to have any problem with me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
Tear.
I was like, I mean, you know, I'm okay with all animals. I'm picky with cats only because I guess I like the ones that are more affectionate.
You haven't met the right one.
I met one that I like absolutely loved. Here's my pin in my butt. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I like dogs much better. I used to have like every single animal you could think of. I practically had like a little zoo.
Yes.
I had a cockatiel, a cockatoo, 2 hermit crabs, a gerbil, a guinea pig, 3 dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's about it. That was like all at one time.
I know 3 ENFPs with cockatoos. I don't know if it's a trend or not. I kind of like those birds. They live a long time too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even know because we didn't stay in the apartment long for that long. So basically, we had to give the pets back to. He was my ex-father-in-law. Because he had a pet store, so that's kind of the reason why we had so many pets and stuff like that. That and also the fact that we went to Daytona, and I bought the 2 hermit crabs from Daytona.
Nice. I think that, and lastly, before we do the questions, I think that, like I said, like the psyche yearns to be whole, right? So you got, as you're dominant, you got extrovert intuition, which is very bohemian, actually. It's a very bohemian. It's probably the most bohemian of all the functions, you know, very free-spirited. But then, as you're inferior, you got introverted sensing, which is the exact opposite of bohemian. It's very much about stability, and it's very much about, you know, traditions and being safe and feeling secure, right? So then throughout your whole life, you're kind of like, you're battling that. You're battling, chasing, like, you know, just around the river bend, you know, like Pocahontas. And then you're balancing that with kind of like a deep-seated want for that security and for that stability. And at this point in your life, you're probably reaching or at least wanting more for that tradition. And it's never going to go away because you're always going to want that to counterbalance. How do you feel like that's progressed over the years, or has it, or hasn't it?
I think I'm more at a point where they're starting to meet each other.
Yes, it should be. Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like even though I have like that want and that longing to like be on the stage and, you know, like show my talents and everything like that, I feel the balance of it is the teaching part.
Right.
Because the teaching part is what's going to give me that stability to know that I'll always have the money to do what I want to do out there. So I think I'm kind of like at a point. And then I also feel like I'm at that same point as far as me in my mind. Like I feel like I'm actually like thinking about the person I am, how I think things through and stuff. And I feel like I'm really thinking about what makes me fully happy before I can go out and help other people.
You should, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times I don't worry about me as much, but about how happy other people are around me.
That was excellent. Do you have like any other like questions or like any random thing you'd like to bring up or to add or?
So, I don't know.
I'm gonna look up famous ENFPs for you.
Well, besides like, I guess, obviously I love unicorns and hearts, as you can tell.
Yes.
And I also love anime, and I actually want to learn Japanese. I want to learn to write Japanese and speak Japanese, because my ultimate goal is to create or write my own and illustrate my own manga.
Oh, nice. So along that, I'm just going to name a couple of famous ENFPs. Charles Dickens, Hunter S. Thompson, Kurt Vonnegut. That's like my baby's daddy. I love him so much. Oh my God. We got comedians George Carlin, Ellen DeGeneres, Robin Williams, Ricky Gervais, Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see a couple more. J.J. Abrams. Freaking, you guys got so many. And it makes sense that there'd be so many of those.
Creative people.
Yeah, exactly. Because you guys are a creative type and a very like inspirational type. Got Joan Jett, Justin Timberlake, Bob Dylan.
Oh, yes.
Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen. Jesus.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, you guys, and so, for any ENFPs watching, you're in excellent company. So I'm just gonna end this on 10 questions originally from the French series by Bernard Pivot. They're better known as the questions that James Liston asks every guest at the end of Inside the Actor Studio. And, just answer it, have fun with it, and let's go. So number 1, what is your favorite word?
Whatever.
Really? I love that. Tell me why. Why do you love whatever?
I don't know, because I'm just like thinking about like what is it that I would say the most, and like in all honesty, whenever I think about like when people get me pissed off or someone's screaming at me or whatever, like my answer is just be like, like I guess whatever, like it is what it is. I mean, I can't control people's feelings, so.
That's perfect for an ENFP. What is your least favorite word? The word that you hate.
I think I would say the word hate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's just it's harsh. And I feel like using the word hate, it just kind of makes it sound like there's just no way of coming back from that. Like there's just no hope, you can't do anything once it gets to hate. Like there's no saving that.
Agreed. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Music, definitely. And definitely music that I can sing to and just belt my heart out to. It's usually something that I basically go back on when things get really, really stressful and stuff. I just gotta go into my little bubble and play my music and stuff like that and just like let it all out. And I feel like that's also inspirational because you never know, you might just find that song, which I usually tend to do, find a song that actually is or expresses where you're at that time.
Perfect. What turns you off?
Wishy-washy people, like people who can't make up their minds.
Sensible. What is your favorite curse word in any language?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go by the words that I use the most. So I would say coño. Definitely. And then and then the English version is shit.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
Baby's giggles.
Oh. And what sound or noise do you hate?
Okay. So this will be really weird, really funny.
Sure.
But for some strange reason, the little clicking sounds that the refrigerator makes at night when it's like really, really quiet.
That's specific. Wow.
It's so creepy.
And you love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it bothers me.
Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Writing. Definitely.
What profession would you not like to do?
Cooking.
Professionally good. Okay. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Let the party start.
Oh, nice. Well, this was excellent. I want to thank you so much, Lisette.
Thank you.
I love the interview. Once again, if you have a social media you'd like people to know about.
So my Instagram is Vampiressesme, ESME, and it's Vampiress, so it's ESS. And again, you'll see a couple of selfies of me, but a lot of my nail designs.
Yeah, awesome. And it's Vanita VJ, and this Evil Bunny is out. It's an excellent episode. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.